Have you ever come across headlines like these online? Even at 80, he still makes his wife happy. 6 hours nonstop. You'll thank me later. These claims are designed to capture attention instantly. They promise a secret, a shortcut, or perhaps a miracle solution that can preserve passion forever. But what if the real secret to lifelong intimacy is not what most people think? What if satisfying intimacy at 80 has far less to do with extraordinary performance and far more to do with something deeper, healthier, and ultimately more attainable for all of us? Today, we're going to explore what science, relationship research, and decades of clinical experience tell us about maintaining intimacy, connection, and relationship satisfaction throughout life. And the findings are surprisingly hopeful. First, let's address an important misconception. Many people grow up believing that sexual satisfaction is primarily about performance, how long intimacy lasts, how frequently it happens, or whether their experiences resemble unrealistic portrayals in movies, advertising, or online media. But research consistently tells a different story. Studies examining long-term couples repeatedly show that relationship satisfaction is influenced much more by emotional connection, communication, affection, responsiveness, and mutual understanding than by duration alone. In other words, the happiest couples rarely describe their intimate lives in terms of hours. Instead, they describe feeling emotionally safe. They talk about feeling appreciated. They feel desired, respected, understood, and connected. And these experiences often matter far more than any specific number on a clock. This brings us to our first major insight. Emotional intimacy is often the true foundation of lasting passion. Emotional intimacy refers to the sense that you can be open, vulnerable, and authentic with your partner without fear of judgment or rejection. When couples feel emotionally connected, physical intimacy often becomes more satisfying as well. Why? Because trust reduces anxiety, safety encourages openness, and emotional closeness strengthens desire. Simple daily behaviors can nurture this connection. Holding hands during a walk, expressing appreciation, listening attentively when your partner speaks, sharing affection without expecting anything in return. These seemingly small moments accumulate over time, creating a powerful sense of partnership. In fact, many couples in long-term relationships report that affection outside the bedroom strongly influences intimacy inside the bedroom. Another essential ingredient is communication. Couples who openly discuss their needs, preferences, expectations, and concerns tend to experience higher levels of relationship and sexual satisfaction. Yet many people avoid these conversations because they feel awkward, embarrassed, or fear hurting their partner's feelings. The reality is that desires, bodies, and preferences naturally evolve throughout life. What felt good at 30 may change at 50, 70, or 80. Healthy couples understand this. Rather than assuming they already know everything about one another, they remain curious, compassionate, and willing to continue learning together. As we continue exploring the secret behind lifelong intimacy, it's important to recognize another powerful truth. Satisfying relationships are not static, they evolve. Many people assume that aging inevitably leads to the end of romance, desire, or physical intimacy, but scientific research paints a much more encouraging picture. Numerous studies on healthy aging have found that many adults continue to enjoy meaningful, pleasurable, and emotionally fulfilling intimate relationships well into their 70s, 80s, and beyond. The key is not resisting change. The key is adapting to it. Our bodies naturally change as we age. Energy levels shift, health conditions may arise, hormonal changes occur, stressors evolve. and these changes can influence sexual desire and function. However, couples who adapt together often report stronger emotional bonds and greater relationship satisfaction. Instead of focusing on what has changed, they focus on what remains possible. They explore new ways of expressing affection. They prioritize closeness over performance. They communicate openly about changing needs. And they approach intimacy with curiosity rather than pressure. This adaptability is one of the strongest predictors of long-term relationship success. In fact, relationship researchers often describe thriving couples as flexible rather than perfect. They understand that intimacy is not a fixed destination. It is an ongoing process of learning, adjusting, and reconnecting. Another crucial factor that supports intimacy throughout life is overall health. Sexual wellness does not exist in isolation. It is deeply connected to physical and emotional well-being. Healthy blood circulation, regular movement, quality sleep, balanced nutrition, and effective stress management all play important roles in maintaining energy, desire, and sexual functioning. Let's begin with physical activity. Research consistently demonstrates that regular exercise benefits both physical and emotional health. Exercise supports cardiovascular health, improves circulation, increases energy, enhances mood, and boosts self-confidence. These benefits can positively influence intimate relationships as well. Even moderate activities such as walking, swimming, stretching, or gardening can contribute to overall well-being. Sleep is equally important. Unfortunately, sleep is often overlooked when discussing intimacy. Chronic sleep deprivation can affect mood, increase irritability, reduce energy, and decrease sexual desire. When people are exhausted, emotional connection may also suffer. Prioritizing restful sleep is therefore not simply a health strategy, it can also be a relationship strategy. Stress management deserves special attention too. Modern life exposes many people to ongoing stress. Financial concerns, caregiving responsibilities, work pressures, health challenges, and family obligations can all influence intimacy. From a biological perspective, chronic stress can reduce desire and interfere with sexual functioning. This is not a personal failure. It is a normal physiological response. The body is designed to prioritize survival during periods of prolonged stress. As a result, managing stress becomes essential for both individual wellness and relationship satisfaction. Practices such as mindfulness, exercise, relaxation techniques, meaningful social connection, and professional support can help reduce stress and strengthen emotional resilience. When partners support one another through life's challenges, they often deepen their sense of connection. And that emotional security can become one of the most powerful ingredients for lasting intimacy. So let's return to the intriguing promise in our title, 6 hours nonstop, you'll thank me later. What if we've been interpreting those words in the wrong way? What if 6 hours nonstop isn't about continuous physical performance at all? What if it represents something much more meaningful? Imagine spending 6 uninterrupted hours truly connecting with your partner. No phones, no distractions, no rushing. Just 2 people intentionally choosing to be present with one another. Perhaps you begin the morning by sharing coffee together, talking about your hopes, memories, and dreams. Maybe you take a long walk, holding hands and enjoying each other's company. You prepare a meal together, laugh about old stories, and reminisce about the experiences that shaped your relationship. You listen, not simply to respond, but to genuinely understand. Research in relationship psychology consistently shows that these everyday moments of emotional connection are strongly associated with long-term relationship satisfaction. In fact, many experts suggest that intimacy begins long before the bedroom. It develops through daily interactions, through kindness, through appreciation, through responsiveness, through the countless small moments when partners communicate, "You matter to me." One influential concept in relationship science is known as turning toward your partner. Throughout the day, partners make small attempts to connect. A smile, a question, a touch on the shoulder, a shared observation. When couples consistently respond positively to these bids for connection, trust and emotional closeness tend to grow. Over months and years, these small interactions can have a profound impact on relationship quality. This brings us to another important point. Lasting intimacy requires ongoing curiosity. Many long-term couples assume they already know everything about each other. After all, they may have spent decades together. But human beings continue to grow and evolve throughout life. Our priorities change, our fears change, our dreams change, our desires change. Couples who remain curious about one another often maintain stronger emotional and physical connections. Ask meaningful questions. What has been bringing you joy lately? What are you looking forward to? How can I support you better? Is there something new you'd like us to experience together? These conversations communicate care, respect, and interest. And feeling genuinely known by a partner is one of the deepest forms of intimacy. At the same time, it is important to acknowledge that challenges are normal. Every relationship encounters periods of stress, distance, misunderstanding, or change. No couple remains perfectly connected all the time. Healthy relationships are not defined by the absence of difficulties. Rather, they are defined by how couples respond to those difficulties. Partners who approach challenges as a team rather than as opponents often emerge stronger. This may involve difficult conversations. It may involve compromise. And sometimes it may involve seeking support from qualified professionals. Relationship therapists, counselors, healthcare providers, and certified sex therapists can offer valuable guidance when couples face persistent concerns related to intimacy, communication, or sexual health. Seeking help is not a sign that a relationship has failed. On the contrary, it reflects a commitment to growth, understanding, and mutual well-being. Strong relationships are not built by people who never struggle. They are built by people who continue choosing one another, even during life's inevitable challenges. As we come to the end of today's discussion, let's revisit the powerful idea behind our title. Can someone still make their partner happy at 80? The answer, according to decades of research and the experiences of countless long-term couples, is yes, absolutely. But perhaps not in the way many people imagine. The real secret is not extraordinary stamina. It is not a miracle food. It is not a hidden technique passed down through generations. And it certainly is not about trying to perform as though aging does not exist. Instead, the couples who continue to experience fulfilling intimacy later in life often share a different set of habits. They communicate openly. They express affection regularly. They prioritize emotional connection. They adapt to change with compassion and flexibility. They care for their physical and emotional health. And perhaps most importantly, they never stop investing in their relationship. Because relationships, much like our bodies, require ongoing care. Consider for a moment how we maintain our physical health. We do not expect to exercise once and remain healthy forever. We do not eat one nutritious meal and assume our work is done. Health is created through small, consistent actions repeated over time. Relationships operate in much the same way. A loving message, a sincere compliment, a warm embrace, a shared laugh, an apology when needed, an expression of gratitude. These everyday behaviors may seem simple, but relationship science repeatedly demonstrates that they can profoundly influence long-term satisfaction. In many ways, lasting intimacy is built in ordinary moments. It is built during conversations over breakfast. It is built while supporting one another through illness, stress, disappointment, and uncertainty. It is built through patience, through kindness, through respect, and through the ongoing decision to remain emotionally available to one another. So perhaps the most important takeaway from today's conversation is this: do not measure the success of your intimate relationship by unrealistic standards or sensational headlines. Do not compare your relationship to what you see online, in movies, or in popular culture. Every couple is unique. Every relationship evolves, and there is no single definition of what satisfying intimacy should look like. What matters most is whether both partners feel respected, valued, emotionally connected, and fulfilled. Because genuine intimacy is not measured in hours. It is measured in closeness. It is measured in trust. It is measured in emotional safety, and it is measured in the countless ways partners continue choosing each other throughout the years. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you believe is the most important ingredient for maintaining intimacy and connection throughout life? Share your experiences and insights in the comments below. Your perspective may encourage and inspire someone else on their own relationship journey. And if you found this video valuable, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who may benefit from this message. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of yourself, take care of your relationships, and remember, meaningful intimacy can continue to grow at every stage of life. I'll see you in the next video. So as we bring today's conversation to a close, let's return one final time to the intriguing promise behind our title. 6 hours nonstop, you'll thank me later. Even at 80, he makes his wife happy. By now, you probably realize that the true secret isn't hidden in extraordinary stamina, a miracle supplement, or a single technique that guarantees lifelong passion. The real secret is both simpler and more profound. It is connection. Deep, intentional, ongoing connection. Because when researchers study couples who remain happy and intimate after decades together, they rarely discover stories centered around performance. Instead, they hear stories about friendship, about laughter, about resilience, about kindness, about two people who continue choosing one another through every season of life. And perhaps this is one of the most empowering truths about human relationships. You do not need to be perfect to experience fulfilling intimacy. You do not need to possess endless energy. You do not need to meet unrealistic standards promoted by popular culture, advertising, or social media. You simply need a willingness to remain present, curious, compassionate, and engaged with your partner. The reality is that every long-term relationship will encounter change. Bodies change, health changes, priorities change, life circumstances change, stress levels change, and yes, intimacy changes too. But change does not have to mean decline. In many cases, change creates opportunities for growth. Many older couples describe their later years as some of the most emotionally intimate periods of their lives. Why? Because with age often comes wisdom, greater self-awareness, more confidence, less pressure to perform, and a deeper appreciation for emotional closeness. Many couples discover that intimacy becomes less about impressing one another and more about truly knowing one another. Less about perfection, more about authenticity. Less about expectations, more about shared experience. And this shift can be incredibly liberating. You see, lasting intimacy is not built in grand dramatic moments. It is built in ordinary moments, repeated consistently over time. It is built when you ask your partner how their day was and genuinely listen to the answer. It is built when you offer affection without expecting anything in return. It is built when you express appreciation for the small things that often go unnoticed. It is built when you apologize after conflict, when you forgive, when you support one another during difficult times, when you celebrate successes together, when you continue showing interest in each other's inner worlds. These seemingly simple behaviors are not insignificant. Relationship science repeatedly demonstrates that small, daily interactions profoundly shape relationship satisfaction. In fact, some experts suggest that successful long-term relationships are not defined by the absence of conflict or hardship. Rather, they are defined by the presence of consistent care. Because every couple will face challenges: illness, loss, stress, disappointment, misunderstandings, transitions. No relationship escapes these realities. The strongest couples are not those who never struggle. They are those who learn how to navigate struggles together. They view challenges not as battles against each other, but as challenges to face side by side. And this mindset can transform relationships. Another important lesson is this: never stop being curious about your partner. Even after 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, or 80 years. Human beings continue evolving throughout life. Your partner's dreams may change, their fears may change, their desires may change, their needs may change. The couples who remain emotionally connected often continue asking questions. What has been on your mind lately? What are you excited about? What worries you? How can I support you? What would help you feel more loved? These conversations communicate something deeply meaningful. I still want to know you. And feeling known, understood, and accepted is one of the most powerful experiences within any relationship. At the same time, remember that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. If you or your partner experience ongoing difficulties related to intimacy, communication, desire, or sexual functioning, know that support is available. Healthcare providers, therapists, counselors, and certified sex therapists can offer valuable guidance. There is no shame in asking for help. Healthy relationships are not maintained by people who have all the answers. Healthy relationships are maintained by people who remain open to learning, adapting, and growing. So perhaps the greatest lesson behind today's title is this: the happiness we create in our relationships is rarely the result of one extraordinary moment. It is the result of thousands of ordinary moments. Moments of kindness, moments of patience, moments of affection, moments of understanding, moments of laughter, moments of compassion, moments when we intentionally choose love, day after day, year after year. Because genuine intimacy is not measured in hours. It is not measured by age. And it is certainly not measured by unrealistic standards. Genuine intimacy is measured by emotional closeness, by trust, by mutual respect, by friendship, by shared meaning, and by the ongoing commitment to nurture one another throughout life's journey. So whether you are 35, 55, 75, or 80, remember this: it is never too late to strengthen your relationship. It is never too late to communicate more openly. It is never too late to become more affectionate. It is never too late to reconnect. And it is never too late to create a more fulfilling, meaningful, and deeply satisfying intimate life. Thank you for joining me today. If this conversation resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you believe is the most important ingredient for lifelong intimacy? Your experiences may inspire someone else who needs encouragement today. And if you found value in this discussion, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone you care about. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself, take care of your relationships, and remember, meaningful intimacy can continue to grow at every stage of life. I'll see you in the next video. 6 hours nonstop. You've probably seen headlines like these all over the internet. Even at 80, he still makes his wife happy. One secret keeps couples passionate for decades. Try this tonight. But what if I told you that the real secret to lifelong intimacy has very little to do with superhuman stamina, miracle foods, or impossible expectations? And what if the habits that actually predict satisfying intimacy at 80 are simpler and far more attainable than most people realize? Stay with me, because today's conversation may completely change the way you think about intimacy, aging, and long-term relationships. Let's begin with an important truth. Many people have been taught that sexual satisfaction is primarily about performance, how long you last, how often you have sex, how intense the experience is, how closely your experiences resemble what you see in movies, advertisements, or online. But decades of relationship and sexuality research tell us a very different story. For most couples, relationship satisfaction is not determined by marathon encounters. In fact, studies consistently show that emotional closeness, communication quality, affection, responsiveness, and mutual understanding are among the strongest predictors of sexual satisfaction. The healthiest couples rarely describe their intimacy in terms of duration. Instead, they talk about feeling desired, feeling understood, feeling emotionally safe, feeling connected. And these experiences can occur in minutes, hours, or through entirely non-sexual forms of intimacy. Let's rethink that phrase, making your partner happy. No one person is fully responsible for another person's happiness. Healthy relationships involve two individuals actively contributing to connection, pleasure, care, and emotional support. Research suggests that satisfying long-term relationships often include 5 essential ingredients. First, emotional responsiveness. This means noticing your partner's emotional needs and responding with warmth, empathy, and care. Second, communication. Couples who talk openly about desires, boundaries, expectations, fears, and preferences tend to report greater sexual satisfaction. Third, affection outside the bedroom. Simple behaviors, holding hands, hugging, kissing goodbye, expressing appreciation, create emotional security that often enhances physical intimacy. Fourth, adaptability. Bodies change, health changes, desire changes. The most satisfied couples adapt rather than resist these changes. And fifth, mutual pleasure. Healthy intimacy focuses less on performance and more on shared enjoyment, comfort, connection, and curiosity. Absolutely. Research on healthy aging consistently demonstrates that many older adults continue to experience meaningful, pleasurable, and deeply satisfying intimate relationships. But satisfying intimacy in later life often looks different than it did at age 25, and that's perfectly normal. Many couples report that aging brings unexpected benefits: less pressure, greater confidence, better communication, more emotional intimacy, a stronger understanding of each other's needs. For many, intimacy becomes less focused on performance and more focused on presence, less about proving something, more about sharing something. And this shift often strengthens relationships. One question researchers have explored for decades is this: why do some couples maintain desire over many years while others struggle? Several factors repeatedly emerge: novelty, emotional safety, positive communication, shared experiences, and ongoing curiosity about one another. Long-term partners sometimes assume they already know everything about each other, but curiosity keeps relationships alive. Ask questions, share new experiences, discuss fantasies, dreams, goals, fears, and hopes. Continue learning about your partner because people continue growing throughout life. The couples who thrive often remain students of one another, even after 50 years together. Sexual wellness is closely connected to overall health. Healthy blood flow, regular physical activity, sleep, stress management, balanced nutrition, managing chronic conditions, all of these influence energy, desire, arousal, and sexual functioning. Cardiovascular health is particularly important. The same blood vessels that support heart health also support sexual function. Regular exercise has been associated with improved mood, better circulation, increased energy, and greater confidence. Sleep matters too. Chronic sleep deprivation can reduce libido, impair mood, increase irritability, and diminish relationship satisfaction. And stress deserves special attention. When stress remains elevated for long periods, desire often declines. This isn't a personal failure, it's biology. The human body prioritizes survival over sexuality during periods of chronic stress. Learning stress management techniques, whether through exercise, mindfulness, social support, or professional guidance, can positively influence intimacy. So what about the promise of 6 hours nonstop? Here's a different interpretation. What if those 6 hours weren't about continuous sexual activity at all? What if they represented 6 hours of genuine connection, a long conversation, cooking together, walking side by side, laughing, holding hands, sharing memories, watching a sunset, supporting one another through life's challenges? Research consistently shows that emotional connection outside the bedroom strongly predicts satisfaction inside the bedroom. Intimacy is not an isolated event. It's an ongoing process. The quality of everyday interactions shapes relationship satisfaction over time. In other words, foreplay for lasting relationships often begins long before anyone enters the bedroom. Sometimes changes in intimacy signal underlying concerns. Persistent difficulties with desire, erections, pain during intimacy, orgasm, or relationship distress deserve attention. These experiences are common, and importantly, they are often treatable. Healthcare professionals, licensed therapists, and certified sex therapists can provide valuable support. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of commitment to yourself, your health, and your relationship. So, can someone still make their partner happy at 80? Absolutely. But the secret isn't endless stamina. It's not a miracle cure, and it's not a single technique. The real secret is connection, communication, curiosity, affection, adaptability, and caring for both your relationship and your health. Because satisfying intimacy isn't measured by hours. It's measured by how deeply two people continue choosing one another, day after day, year after year. And perhaps that's the most powerful relationship lesson of all. If you found today's discussion helpful, let us know in the comments. What do you believe matters most for lifelong intimacy? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.